Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, we're now a few days into the release of the massive Shadow of the Erdtree DLC for Elden Ring, and as people advance further and progress into new areas, there are of course more goodies to be found, and most people's favorite type of goodie is of course the weapons themselves. So today we're going to go over a sort of more mid-game DLC collection of weapons. Specifically, we do have a couple in the Gravesite Plains, the first area, but most of these weapons will be in the Cerulean Coast and Scadu regions, and will run under the assumption that you have the first graces and the map fragments for these areas as well. If not, we have a handy video for how to unlock them. We'll be going through these then in a sort of progression order. The easier it is to get, the earlier it'll be in the video, and I'll tell you first what the weapon is, then we'll talk about anything that makes it unique, and then I'll show you how to actually get them once you know whether you want it or not. Without further ado then, first up we have the Black Steel Greathammer. This is the weapon wielded by the large holy knights, and it scales with strength and faith mainly by default, but it is infusible with Ashes of War. This weapon is exceptionally unique for two separate reasons. Firstly, it has holy damage on it, but can have additional damage types applied on it, either through Ashes of War and the affinity system, or through spell buffs like Bloodflame Blade, and it becomes a triple damage type weapon if you do that, because it keeps the holy damage on it too. It can also be boosted further just as far as its holy damage by just applying further holy damage boosters. And the second particularly special part of this is that it has a unique guard counter attack that fires off a cone of delayed holy magic explosions, pretty much straight out of Radagon's playbook, which is really cool, a great paladin-esque weapon. As for how to get this then, it seems to be either a guaranteed drop or just an extremely high drop chance from the knight wielding this weapon specifically, who spawns at this church right here, just east of the first grace in the DLC. A really easy early one to pick up. Second then we have the Lizard Greatsword. This is the weapon wielded by some of the new variations of the stone imp enemies in the new catacomb dungeons. It is a quality scaling weapon by default, but it is infusible with Ashes of War and affinities. And interestingly, this one also has a unique part of its moveset, which is that any heavy attacks actually fire out the tongue of the sword as a projectile in a line in front of you. If you do this at close range, the enemy both counts as being hit by the sword and the projectile at the same time, so this is actually really potent on top of being incredibly silly, because the weapon, visually speaking, is just a stone lizard, and I love when those types of things overlap, personally. As for how to get it, this one is an RNG drop chance item, meaning you will likely have to kill the enemy for it multiple times, and it is just any of the new stone imps that are actually holding it. The easiest one to farm is in the Fog Rift Catacombs. To get there from the first side of Grace of the DLC, just head north along the main path and across the bridge until you reach the castle front side of Grace. Then continue northwest until the end of the foresty graveyard path in the valley to reach the catacombs entrance. About 10 feet away from the side of Grace in here is a stone imp that is holding this weapon. Kill him, and if it doesn't drop it, just go back to the Grace, sit down, get back up, and then kill him again, and repeat that until it happens. Third up then, let's talk about the Lightning Perfume Bottle. This is the lightning variant of this new weapon type for the DLC, and this one has slightly higher faith scaling than dexterity, but it does scale with both of these stats almost equally. And it also uniquely seems to have higher range and more explosions than the other perfume bottles do that we've talked about before this one, and personally, I find it to actually just feel a lot better to use. Spam heavy attacking is actually surprisingly potent with this, and it looks just absolutely gorgeous too. As far as getting this one then, it is pretty simple. This is our first item in the Cerulean Coast region, so from the first grace of this area, you simply want to head northeast until you reach this small pool over here to the side of the giant furnace guy that is wandering the area, and then you'll find the weapon sitting on a corpse in the middle of this body of water, protected by a little bit of a rolling sheep. Fourth then today is the Spirit Sword. This is a curved sword, dexterity, intellect, and a little bit of strength scaling, magic damage as well as physical, and this is the first one today with a unique Ash of War on it, which is Rancor Slash. For all intents and purposes, this is essentially the sword dance Ash of War, but it fires out homing ghost flame projectiles that apply frost buildup to enemies, which is honestly quite cool and could be a very potent thing to build around for ranged consistent frostbite application without actually investing in spells properly. As far as picking it up for yourself, this is closest to the Cerulean Coast west side of Grace, which is, you guessed it, west of the first Grace of this area. Nothing complex about how to get there, just a straight line run basically, and then from this Grace it is easier to just sort of show you the path and explain it, so I'll let you strap in, relax, and watch the full path. Fifth then, we have the Dancing Blade of Ranah. This is a paired curved sword, so you get 2 when you two-hand it, relatively good dexterity scaling as a weapon, and uniquely the strong attack here is essentially the same as a two-handed curved sword strong attack, even when wielding it one-handed, so you can use it with the shield and still have it work a lot like it is two-handed. It also has a unique Ash of War called Unending Dance that is essentially a non-stop flurry of slashes with tons of controllable forward momentum on them that basically you can just hold down to cast as long as your stamina bar allows, which lets you just never stop attacking against low poise enemies if you want to, which is really honestly just fun to do. As far as getting this one for yourself, it is closest to the Cerulean Coast West side of Grace once again, and it is in the Mausoleum on the little island off of the coast to the west. To get here, the path will take you through a cave and underground, so once again, just for the sake of clarity, I'll let you watch the full path so that there's no confusion on how to actually get there. And then behind this fog wall in here is of course a boss, and the boss, when you kill them, is what drops this weapon for you, as well as their armor set, which is pretty nice too, very pretty. Sixth up then, let's talk about the Serpent's Flail, a mainly dexterity and faith scaling weapon, and as someone who loves flails, this weapon is honestly really just sick. Not only does it look great, but the unique Ash of War that it has, Flare O Serpent, wreathes the weapon in flames that add damage to your light attacks, but also this effect causes an explosion on any strong attack you do that consumes the buff, though you can repeatedly reapply it pretty cheaply to just sort of spam these explosions back to back. It's just a really cool flail, honestly. And then as far as where this one actually is, this is our first item in the Scadutree region of the DLC, and I'll be treating the Grace in front of Castle Ensis as our starting point for most of these. For this one, you want to travel west along the cliffline until you reach the Scadutree West site of Grace over here, and then a few feet away there is a drop that you can go down here beside the abandoned campfire and follow through a path of descent into a fort. Then at the bottom of the fort you will find this weapon in a chest, and of course, just for the full clarity once again, let's watch the path here just to show you the whole way there. Seventh then today is going to be the Tooth Whip, which is a both disgusting and honestly funny weapon. Dexterity scaling mainly with a little bit of strength, deadly poison buildup on the weapon hits itself, and a unique debuff from the Ash of War, which actually lowers the stamina regeneration rate of any enemy that you hit with it, which you can see by a green aura represented on them after they get hit. This will probably be especially interesting in PvP, especially as whips are already pretty fun for PvP specifically in my opinion. For getting this one yourself then, from that first Scadutree Grace in front of the castle, you want to head east to the Muirth Ruins site of Grace like so. Then from here you can head over along the path that I'm taking right now to find this hole beside a building that you can actually jump down and follow through a cavern to find a route that is essentially just a long secret tunnel that leads to a ladder. This ladder is the bottom of a well that comes up at the Bonnie Village site of Grace, and then from here you simply want to cross the first large rope bridge to the east of you and you'll be at the Whipping Hut, inside of which is the Tooth Whip waiting to be picked up. Finally then for today we have the Red Bear's Claws, one of my aesthetically favorite weapons in the DLC. This is a pair of the new Beast Claw weapon type, full strength scaling, and it has a unique Ash of War Red Bear Hunt that is a 3-input combo that leaves trailing aftershock damage after each swipe, and it also has bleed application on the hits too. It can be hard to get the full Ash of War combo out, but it does actually do pretty solid damage if you do hit all of it, and you know, it's literally a pair of bear paws, and everyone should have the right to bear arms. For getting this one for yourself, then, we'll go from the North Ruin, Site of Grace, from the last entry, and you want to head northeast to the north end of this small pool here. Worth noting, directly above this location is actually where you fight the enemy that drops the bear pelt helmet, if you are wondering where I got this from. But for the weapon, you want to continue through this little cave here and along this path. It's a little bit lengthy, so for one final time, I'll let this play out so you can just see the full way there. Once you reach this point, there is a locked spirit spring. Simply follow the path that I am taking in the footage, and you'll end up at the rocks that are blocking the spirit spring off, so hit the rocks and it will open up. Then you can ride the spirit spring up to the top to find another spirit spring, which will bring you up again once more time to the actual top of the cliff, where you'll find another mausoleum with a boss inside of it. Kill the boss in here, and you get these weapons as well as an armor set too, because just why the hell not? That just about does it for today then, everyone. Another collection of weapons, this time a little bit more mid-game focused, as we start to venture forth into further parts of the map for the DLC area. I hope you've enjoyed this, maybe you've even found something that you're absolutely smitten with and want to properly upgrade and use. I know I'm using stuff from this list, so there's just honestly some really fun stuff around in this game, and I hope that I'm able to show you some more of it and show you some stuff that you may not have found on your own. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.